Club motorsport in the United Kingdom is seen as one of the most interesting, competitive and exciting in the world. And for the remainder of 2021, I want to take you inside one of the UK's flagship organisations, the 750 Motor Club. We'll get to know the drivers, the cars and the tracks and let you know how you can get involved and go racing yourself. Today we'll be taking a look at the 750 Motor Club's Formula V Championship. This has been one of the longest running series within the UK. They've been racing for over 50 years and it's seen as one of the most affordable routes into single-seater racing in the world. Earlier this year I was lucky enough to speak to 3 of the drivers that have enjoyed their racing this season within the Formula V series. So let's get to know them and understand why they chose this interesting championship.
Hi, my name's Phil Waterhouse and I race in the 750 Motor Club Formula V Championship.
My name's Rachel Swain, I race in the 750 Motor Club Formula V Championship.
Absolutely loved Formula 1 when I was a young boy. My uncle owned a Volkswagen garage. My dad used to go along and help him, so he was running Formula V back in the 80s. Dad went along and helped him. Being a young boy, used to go along and watch. Then my dad got involved, got a car, so then I'd be helping him. Then a car came up for sale, so I buy that and then we do it together, so that was fantastic, racing against your dad. Dad then slowly come out of it at probably end of the 90s. I carried on and now he continues to run the team, he builds the engines, does the car, and here we are. So motorsport's been through most of our life, to be honest, yeah.
What piqued my interest in club motorsport, I'd always been meaning to do it, but I went to an experience day at Silverstone back in 2002, enjoyed it, and got out the car saying, I've got to get one of these. Googled cheap single-seater racing and Formula V kept coming up, and that's what sort of started it.
My first memory, that would have been when I was about 9 or 10 when my dad was racing in the series. So yeah, that was probably, the first time I came racing was actually in Brands when I was about 10. I think mainly with my dad doing it, I kind of found that it was quite a family orientated sport and I kind of enjoyed it. It was like the same kind of jump from karting up into this.
The Formula Vs are a unique type of vehicle nowadays. Many modern single-seater cars are going to slicks and wings, but Formula V really holds the true roots of single-seater racing around the world. Saying this, it does use a rather unique 1300cc air-cooled VW Type 123 engine with restrictions on its valve sizes, bore and stroke.
It was just a big family thing, you know, it was because it's not just racing, it's a whole social thing as well. And especially in Formula V, everybody's so friendly, everybody gets on. You get the odd little niggle because you're racing, you're always going to have some little bits, but in general, it used to be called the friendly formula in the 90s, you know, and it is just a big social event once a month really, every weekend. Funny enough, I was saying this yesterday to somebody that when I first started, I used to feel physically sick, like you get your helmet on, you couldn't talk to anyone, you know, you was having trouble just all the time. As soon as that green light went out, perfect, absolutely fine. You forgot all about any of your nerves. But yeah, really nervous when I was younger.
My first race weekend, Mallory Park, March 2003. First trip to see the Clark, first official telling off, first spin, first finish, came last, but it was, I've been doing it ever since pretty much.
Yeah, that was a very nerve-wracking weekend, yeah. We didn't have very much luck that weekend, to be honest.
The engine power of these vehicles is only 85 horsepower, but because of their extremely light weight, the average lap speeds are anything between 90 and 95 miles an hour. As for the chassis, they are available from a number of constructors, either self-designed or often converted from the Formula Ford Kent chassis. Wings and other aerodynamic aids are completely prohibited. The suspension is a front VW axle, hubs and stub axles with the torsion bar too, and the majority of the Volkswagen rear suspension components have to be used as well. Volkswagen Beetle discs or drums on the front, as well as the Volkswagen drums on the rear too. The idea of this series is to help keep the costs down by making the control parts themselves very cheap.
It's an incredibly friendly series. I've got more friends from this than any other thing I've done. It's fairly simple to maintain the car yourself. If you can read a manual and work a spanner, you should be able to keep the car together. Engines are a bit different, but they're doable. And for the cost, you won't find anything else as I won't say cheap because it's not cheap, but you won't find anything such good value, I don't think. Well, I've not raced any other single-seater series, but what you do get with this is no matter where you are on the grid, you'll race. No, if you're at the front, 5 or 6 guys at the front race together. I'm in a pack, well, depending on the day, sort of 10 to 15th, something like that. But you'll always have people there to race with.
We did think about going into, say, like what Sports 1000 and that is now, but that's quite a jump. And then when you've been doing this for so long, you kind of know what you're doing. You've got so many spares, you know, you've got everything you need to know, and it's like, well, you've got to start again if you go another one. And there's lots of people in this formula that have done it for years, so they're friends really. And to leave all that to just go to something new was a bit like, well, it is just a social fun thing really, but you know, we're not going to make any money out of this. It's just a great thing to do at the weekend with your family, so why change?
You'll be using a Volkswagen Type 1 gearbox, along with the Volkswagen ratios, and limited slip diff or similar traction control is prohibited in this championship. As we mentioned earlier, all cars will be running on a groove tyre, no slicks at all here. You'll be using the Hoosier Control tyre. This choice has provided some great racing throughout the year, so why change a perfect formula?
I've had many highs and I've had many lows. I've had some big crashes. I had a crash here in 2009 when I broke my back, and then I was off work for 6 months. I couldn't feel my feet. I had to have an operation. You know, getting through that's probably really hard. It was really hard for my family. I had young kids. My wife was really worried. But getting through that, my main goal when I was in hospital was I wanted to get back here for the festival at the end of the year. So that was my focus of getting better, and I did. And then I won the semi-final race, and it was all covered on the telly. And because of what had happened to me, I got lots of coverage. And so to me, that was quite special because I battled through the injury to get back out there and done well. So for me, that really sticks. But it's just being with your family, really, I think is the main thing. Because I've got my sister and that always come, and they live down in Gloucestershire, and my dad lives up in the Isle of Sheppey, and I live down here near here. So we're all a bit apart from each other, and this sort of brings us all together once a month. And I think if you didn't have the racing, would that still happen? It probably would, but not as much. So I kind of think that's quite special as well.
Honestly, the fact that this car was the first GAC ever built, and it was built in 2001, the same year I was born, so it's very much my car.
Formula V typically races over 7 doubleheader weekends with 14 rounds in total. That was the case within 2021 too. They went to some fantastic tracks this year, starting off with Cadwell Park before venturing to Croft, then Snetterton, then to Silverstone, then over to Anglesey, then to Brands Hatch, and then finally rounding off the season at Oulton Park in the end of the year. As always, the idea with the 750 Motor Club is to keep the cost down to allow drivers to get into this in the cheapest way possible. Club membership is just £25 for a year, season registration just £135, and a doubleheader race weekend, which is qualifying followed by 2 15-minute races, and that's typically between £250 and £350 depending on the race circuit.
Well, my aspiration this year had been to try and run consistently in the top 10 in the newer car. That's gone so horribly wrong this year. So I suppose I'll come back next year hopefully with the car fixed and the same goal of trying to get consistently in the top 10, which is where everybody wants to run, isn't it? But we will see. There's a lot of time to be spent in the garage over the winter, I think.
Anglesey last week, 3 weeks ago. That was probably my best race. We started 25th and finished 15th. Hopefully within the next couple of seasons be up in the top 10, because we're slowly creeping into the top 15s now, so hopefully next year top 10s.
This is my 30th year, so I've been so close to winning the main championship. I mean, I've won the Class B championship 5 times, but to win the main championship would have been really special, and I've come second about 3 or 4 times. Every year I was coming second, it was Paul Smith winning it. He was winning it every year. It was always me second. Sometimes I'd win, sometimes, you know, he'd win most of the time. And the minute he left, I thought, right, this is my time. But someone else comes in and wins it, and you think, are you ever going to win it? You know, I think in '98 I was winning it, going into the last round, and then my gearbox broke on the last race. So I ended up finishing 3rd by 6 points, I think. So there always seems to be something that stopped me, and it's always been my goal to win it, but I think I've peaked and I'm on my way back down now. But you never know what's going to happen. So you always try and win it, but these days it's more back to the fun element. When you're trying to win a championship, it gets a little bit more serious. It's a little bit more expensive, it's a little bit more intense. If you back off from that and just come and do one weekend at a time, it is just fun. Yesterday I battled and I think I finished 8th, but that was just as much fun as being at the front. Because it doesn't matter where you are in this field, there's a battle somewhere, whether you're 20th or whether you're 1st. And it might be slightly different pace, but it's still just a battle, and it is what you're here to do, really.
If you're looking to buy a car second hand, you can get those for around £5,000 to £6,000. Be sure to check out the 750 Motor Club's website under their classified sections to see whether anything is for sale currently. As always, a massive pleasure to put together this video with the 750 Motor Club. The Formula V series is one of my favourite single-seater series in the UK. Some fantastic racing throughout the year, and as you saw, I got the chance to get some great footage throughout the year. I thoroughly enjoyed watching these guys and girls out on track put together some fantastic racing. Be sure to tune in soon for another one of my 750 Motor Club Racing series videos. They've been thoroughly enjoyable to put together, and be sure to make any 750 Motor Club events you can and come and watch the spectacular racing out on track. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.